So, virtual reality has been stewing in the pot for a few years now, and we finally saw the consumer versions of the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift launch earlier this year. And on the whole, it's been fantastic. Streamlined, compelling VR experiences while seated, and using room scale in the case of the HTC Vive. But there's a couple things that make the standing up, moving around type of experience feel like it's missing something, or rather, that it should be missing something, namely, the tether going from the headset to a VR-capable PC. It's cool immersing yourself into a virtual world, but having a cable constantly trip up your legs can break the illusion pretty quick. So, one solution to the cable problem is shortening it, bringing the PC from the desk to your back. A couple different companies are working on backpack PC solutions for VR, but this particular unit is the VR1 from MSI, and as of filming this, I believe it's the only one that's actually launched for consumers so far. We've had it in the studio for a week, and I would be lying if I said it hasn't completely transformed my experience of virtual reality and the real world and relationships, and science, and our place in the universe. So it's pretty good. So you might be saying to yourself, a backpack PC, that's basically just a laptop with straps. And that's essentially correct. The VR1 is a compact gaming PC, which makes it essentially similar to a high-powered gaming laptop without a display or keyboard, which becomes apparent when you look at the specs. The system is around 403 by 292 by 60 millimeters, which makes it somewhat thicker than your average gaming laptop, and weighs 3.5 kilograms, or around 8 pounds, with both batteries and the straps. Inside is an Intel Core i7-6820HK processor, GeForce GTX 1070, 16 gigs of memory, a 512 gig NVMe SSD, killer combo Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth 4.1. There's also a slightly lower powered version with a GTX 1060 and 256 gig SSD, but either of those versions will be more than enough to run VR experiences with performance to spare. Now, part of why the VR1's performance is impressive is its overall design. I mean, the look is MSI's classic gamer aesthetic with all of these cool gamer type things, and its beauty is certainly a matter of taste, but I'm talking about the actual structure. This shield area in the front here has vents that serve as air intake to cool the components underneath. Hot air is then expelled through the vents on the side. Under load, the body of the VR1 does get pretty hot, 34 degrees according to our Seek thermal camera, but I never noticed heat while I was actually wearing the backpack. In fact, I didn't even know the body had heated up significantly until I pointed the thermal camera at it. That's probably helped by the plastic frame, which provides some separation between your body and the actual VR1, and which also serves as the mounting points for the shoulder straps with these 4 clips. Now, just below that shield structure I mentioned earlier is the power button and the battery life indicator, which is flanked by the system's 2 battery packs, which MSI says together should get you around 1.5 hours of playtime. And in my experience, that was pretty true. It might even last a bit longer, as the pack was around 50% after an hour of play for me. I mean, testing. That I did. For work. The batteries are also hot swappable, as MSI will soon be launching a battery charging dock which can charge 4 of them at one time, so you can always have a spare pair to switch in if you're not ready to leave the Matrix just yet. Now, the power connector for the PC is located on the very bottom of the backpack, and the rest of the I/O is located on the opposite end at the very top. There we find a mini DisplayPort, USB Type-C with Thunderbolt 3, 4 USB 3 ports, HDMI, a power outlet for the HTC Vive headset, and a headphone and mic jack. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Those of you familiar with the Vive will know that it requires the use of a link box, which has orange connectors for the HDMI, USB, and power cords coming from the actual headset. It then routes those signals to the PC through another USB cord and either an HDMI or mini DisplayPort. The link box, however, is powered by a regular power adapter which needs to be plugged into a wall socket. Now, this of course defeats the purpose of having a tether-free backpack PC, since with the link box, you'll still have to be tethered to the wall for power. Thus, the USB, HDMI, and power outlet on the VR1 is designed to be connected directly to the headset's orange-tipped cables. However, HTC is sneaky. The headset won't actually work that way. From my own troubleshooting and seeing what many other people on the web experienced, I found that the HDMI cord coming from the headset will not function unless it is connected to the link box. So you have to unplug the Vive's HDMI cord from the headset, replace it with another HDMI cord, and once you do that, it works flawlessly. Now, I used the cord that's intended to go from the link box to the PC, since it was the only one we had that fit in the headset, but I've seen some other users online that have had success with other aftermarket HDMI cords as well. So, long story short, replace the Vive headset's HDMI cord with a different one, and you can plug it straight into the PC, tether-free, all the way, dude. You won't be able to close the panel covering the cord, so it'll look kind of janky, but everyone looks like a dork in VR anyway, okay, so it's fine. There's also the fact that the link box is what enables the Vive's Bluetooth features and smartphone integration, so you won't get those benefits having removed it from the system. Oh, and you'll also have to figure out a solution to stow the long Vive cable away somewhere. I ended up coiling it and attaching it to the inside of the plastic frame with some Velcro. And that worked just great. Now, enough about the boring details. What was it like to actually play with this thing? The first time I got the VR1 up and running in our room scale VR area, I gotta say, it was pretty cool. The thing about the HTC Vive's Tether is, most of the time you probably wouldn't notice it, but your VR experience would be punctuated by these little moments of having to move the cord back or stop yourself from tripping on it, which breaks your immersion every time. With the VR1, those moments simply weren't there, as often the only thing reminding me of the real world was the Vive's chaperone border for the play area. The size and weight of the PC make it pretty unobtrusive, so with all the straps done up, crouching and turning around rapidly and stuff was really not an issue for me. Overall, it delivers on the promise of tether-free room-scale VR, and there's not really much else to say about that. Now, in terms of actual performance, as I mentioned, this thing has a Skylake i7 CPU and a GTX 1070, which is much more than adequate for good VR performance. In my initial testing, I did experience some stuttering, but that was quickly resolved by installing the latest NVIDIA driver. The Steam VR performance test showed 0 frames below 90 FPS, with performance at the very high end, and we also got 85.6 FPS in Unigine Valley for average on Extreme HD, which is just below the desktop GTX 1070 we tested, so right on target. So suffice to say, until VR games start to become a lot more graphically demanding, this thing's performance will be top-notch for a while. Now, as for price, this is the first commercially available VR backpack PC, so naturally there's a bit of an early adopter price premium for the design. This model, the higher end one, is going for $3,000 Canadian, and the lower end one with the GTX 1060 and 256 gigs of storage is $2,600 Canadian. It's going to be up to you whether you think paying to get a streamlined, tether-free VR solution is worth it, versus either putting up with the tether or trying to jerry-rig your own gaming laptop VR backpack rig type solution. And with that, it is time to bid you adieu. Thanks for watching, guys. Click over here for previous videos and check us out on Twitter over here. But as always, like the video if you liked it, comment below for fans with benefits, and subscribe for more videos like this from NCIX. Now I have to go give this back to MSI. Unfortunately, they did not give it to us to keep. Which is understandable, but still hurts a little. See you guys later. Oh, I hooked it under the thing. It's hooked onto the stand. I have to stand here until the video's done.